Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Rob, why don't we grab clip 16, the Sarah Palin quote, and then, Ron, I'm going to get to you as soon as I'm done with this soundbite. This is Brian Fisher's my name, the program Focal Point. This is the second hour of this Tuesday edition of Focal Point on the American Family Radio Talk Network. I've had this soundbite in the roster now for about a week, looking for the right time to use it, and I think this is the time to use it. After the call we had in that last segment about Mitch McConnell basically accusing any Republican senators who work with Freedom Works or work with the Senate Conservatives Fund of being traitors to the cause. And it's a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, we have three political parties right now in America. We are no longer a two-party system. We are a three-party system. You have the Democrats, you have the ruling class Republicans, and you have citizen class Republicans. Three political parties. And right now, the Civil War is between the ruling class Republicans, the Republican elites, the country club Republicans, the Brooks Brothers Republicans, and the Levi Republicans, the citizen class Republicans, the country class Republicans. That's you and me. That's where the real battle is right now. And here's Sarah Palin talking about maybe what Ted Cruz and Mike Lee are up to. Let's listen.
Yes, we're just going to be real here for the next couple of minutes together.
Right.
Thanks so much for your time. Speaking of animals, I saw this article that you wrote about hunters and flushing dogs, and you used this analogy to talk about members of Congress. So explain for everyone who you meant by flushing dogs and what they do.
Well, it's a good term when you apply it to someone like Senator Ted Cruz and Mike Lee, others who are literally trying to flush out those other politicians who are in hiding. They're kind of in the woods, hiding behind symbolic votes that don't mean anything, instead of standing up and fighting for Americans. And in this case, we're talking about Americans who understand the soaring costs that will result of Obamacare and the huge government intervention that will be a result of Obamacare in our businesses and our individual lives, and that will suffocate enterprise and industry. So flushing dogs are those who get out there and make these politicians, in this case, come out from hiding and stand tall and fight for what's right.
That's Sarah Palin. I think she's exactly right. What this process is doing is it is surfacing those lawmakers in Congress that are genuine Republicans. I mean, it's in their DNA. They've got these principles, these convictions at a very deep level, and they're willing to fight for them, and they're flushing out, identifying the naugahyde conservatives, the fake conservatives, the ones that are hiding behind these symbolic votes but aren't willing to cast a vote that matters when it counts. Let's go to Ron in Circleville, Indiana. Ron, thanks for calling, and thanks for waiting. What's on your mind?
Point. Now we get to see the Obama Gestapo at the national parks and everything. But actually some good could come out of this. And what I mean is, unless somebody's incredibly naive or stupid, they're going to know all this is coming from the top, coming from him and his party, and this is going to make a lot of people angry with them and very disillusioned with them, and it could backfire on them in voting time.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the sort of calculation that President Obama has made. I'm going to lead off the next segment, develop that in a little more detail. But I think that's the calculation that President Obama has made, and I think he's miscalculated on this. You know, he thinks that the public is going to be with him on this, that he's going to be able to demonize the Republicans, that the great unwashed, the great majority of the public are going to believe that, and that they're going to be angry with the Republicans, and he's finding out that that's not true. It's one of the reasons why you see, let's grab clip 8 if we can, Rob, and then I want to play clip 9. And I appreciate the call, Ron, because it points us in a very helpful direction. I think that you can tell that the conservatives are winning this fight. They're not losing no matter what you hear in the polls. They're winning. And some of the polling data, we saw that Fox News poll, 58% of the American people, if they were voting on it, they would vote against raising the debt ceiling. Only 37% want to raise the debt ceiling. President Obama's out there again today saying, hey, just because we're raising the debt ceiling doesn't mean we're increasing the debt. I mean, it's irrational. It's completely illogical. It makes absolutely no sense. Why else would you do it? If you're not going to raise the debt, then why raise the debt ceiling? I I mean, it's just absurd, and that he's a leader of the free world and expects us to believe that without reacting to that. I mean, it's just crazy. But you hear increasingly liberal pundits are getting more shrill, more agitated, and more desperate, which means they know that they're losing the argument, and you can tell that they know they're losing because they're getting on the media, if you can believe it, for not being hard enough on Republicans. When have you heard that? Well, let's listen to Carl Bernstein's on Morning Joe, clip 8. Let's listen.
We're also at a great cultural moment here, a great political pivotal moment in our history. I compared it last week here to McCarthy, Joe McCarthy, McCarthyism. This is about the Republican Party and what it's going to be. Is it going to conduct a fact-based philosophical argument in our political system, or is it going to be a nihilistic, hateful, asymmetrical in terms of facts and the truth part of the party, as in Joe McCarthy? This is about media as well. These poll numbers are about a totally different media culture than we've had in the past. And as you see in that clip from Comedy Central, we need to start covering this story, not 50-50, this much on this side, that on the other. We need to cover it factually, because there are facts here that will show what this event is about and where, in fact, is this anger, hatred of Obama coming from? What is the root of this?
So still on the anger, hatred of Obama meme, that we have some kind of racist animus toward President Obama. We don't like him because of the color of his skin. No, we don't like him because of the color of his politics. You know, and so Carl Bernstein now openly, look, he's saying, look, the problem here is that the media has been too fair with the Republicans. They've been trying to play this thing right down the middle. They've been trying to be 50-50. In other words, his accusation is that they're actually doing their job. Now, they're not. I mean, they're leaning so far to the left, make you dizzy. But in Carl Bernstein's world, they're playing this thing down the middle, which is what we thought journalists were supposed to do. And Bernstein says, no, they've got to tilt the scales. They've got to step on the scales. They've got to put their thumb on the scales for the president. They're being way too fair with the Republicans. Now, here is the Huffington Post, Dan Frumkin, clip number 9. He's on CNN, and he has basically the same message as Carl Bernstein. Let's listen.
Shutting down the government is about as serious a problem as Congress can have. And so it's really imperative upon the press to tell the public how we got here, not just what's happening every day.
And you don't think the press have been doing that? This parade of stories day in and day out?
The coverage has been incredibly focused on both the process, what just happened right now, and also on prognostication. There's been very little of reminding people of the very basic, which is this is a manufactured crisis. Every story should almost lead with the fact that this is day X of a manufactured crisis, of an unprecedentedly extreme act by a party.
So by an unpresidential party. So it says, look, every news story, he's not even pretending that they ought to do news anymore. That every single news story about the crisis should call it a manufactured crisis. And every story ought to start off with day 1, day 2, day 8, day 9 of this manufactured crisis, meaning it is a phony crisis, meaning that it's been drummed up by the Republicans, and every news story, quote, end quote, ought to lead off with that accusation of the Republican Party. So these guys abandoning pretense of objectivity, but they're getting shrill, they're getting desperate, which means one thing they know, they're losing the argument. Back in 2.